Good evening, everyone. Uh, Thanks for joining for another webinar. Right, most of you uh, in the group know that we were conducting all these webinars since nearly last 6 months. So let me quickly introduce about myself and about the guest today, and then we'll get into the topic. Yep, I hope everyone can see the screen. So I am Kishore Ramaraju from Sugarland, Texas. I am working in IT, and also I'm an entrepreneur, part of multiple different businesses. One of my passions is basically information sharing, knowledge sharing. As part of this hobby or passion, I organized over 200 plus webinars and seminars in last 2 plus years. Especially in this pandemic situation, I thought this is the best time where we can learn about various concepts, various important things which we all need to know in this country. So I organized over nearly 50 webinars in last 6 months related to meditation, related to immigration, related to mortgage, right, real estate mortgage, related to various IT technologies, various investment related. We had over 50 plus, so 50 plus webinars in last 6 months. And again, I requested all the members to to get to send me a message. And I got, this is one more topic because the tax rates are so low now. So many people wanted to buy homes. They wanted to understand, is this a correct time to invest or not? Then immediately I checked with a few of my good friends. They are in real estate since long time. So they wanted to share various tips and techniques, and also about the current real estate market situation, all those things. And tomorrow also we have one more very important webinar, which is about college admission changes for fall 2021 and beyond. So if any of you have college going kids or high school kids, definitely you can join the session at 7 p.m. CST. And also if you want to know about any other topics, I'm also talking to Rahul on this EB2, EB3. Because of the date changes, there are a lot of questions for many members. We will try to do it maybe Saturday or Sunday. I'm trying to get his time today. Actually, I wanted to arrange that because we already scheduled this call. I didn't get a chance to plan it out. So, but yeah, that will be another webinar on EB2, EB3. Right, the green card filing? How easily can we move from EB2 to EB3? All those, lot of questions. Many members got a lot of questions related to that. So again, if you want to watch any of the previous, maybe 60% of the webinars were recorded. There were few webinars which we cannot record because of the IP constraints by the presenters. They don't want those to be recorded. And this webinar also we are recording. So in case if anybody misses it, they can always refer to it. You can go to YouTube and search on my name. You can see all the various webinars which we did since last 2 to 3 plus years. Um, and that is my email and my phone number. So in case if you want to know about any other concepts, any other topics which are useful for majority of our group members, you can send me a message and I'll talk to one of the subject matter experts and I'll schedule a session. So regarding today's guest speakers, today we have two guest speakers. One of them is my good friend from Houston, Brunda Dalwadi. She is part of Real Estate Professionals from West Houston. She has a lot of experience. So she will be talking about some of the tips. Then followed by Sai Vankaila, another friend from Indiana State. So again, he will also share about different tips and techniques on what all, it can be a primary home, it can be secondary home, what all different things we need to look out, what are the because many of them, especially for the primary home, we do a lot of mistakes, right, without proper knowledge, because we don't know where to go to, we don't know, we need to get a pre-approved letter or pre-approval. So there are so many things which we do without knowing, and we do a lot of mistakes. Either we pay huge amounts, or sometimes without proper inspections. There will be a lot of things which will happen. So this session will definitely help from realtors from two different locations. They will share all the tips and techniques, and at the end of the session, or once Sai also shares his tips, we'll open it for Q&A. So if you have any questions related to a mortgage or related to real estate, or is it a good time for investments, you can feel free to ask all your questions. You can put them in the chat window, and I will ask on your behalf, because yeah, right. It's all yours, Brinda. You can start sharing your slide. Brinda, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Kishore. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brinda, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much, Kishore, to give me this opportunity to come in this webinar and share, like, all the steps and techniques and tips that when people are buying their first home. And as you mentioned, that's true that so many people don't know where to start and what to do when they are buying their first home. And later on they buy, and later on they figure out, oh, they did so many mistakes without proper education and knowledge. You can make mistakes when you when you do biggest investment in your life. So I greatly appreciate to you give me the opportunity to talk with people, and really appreciate for that one, Kishore.
No problem.
Yeah. So Kishore, normally, uh, as an immigrant, we don't know proper way, like where to start and what to do when we are buying our first home. So I just, these steps, I divided in the 10 steps. So it's easy to understand and figure out, like, what the step, where to start, and what is the next step you're supposed to be taking while you're buying the home. So first steps, I will say, save your down payment. So there are so many down payment programs available. So many people think, okay, to buy the home, they minimum need 20% or 10% or something like that. But that's not true. There are so many down payment programs available. That's like 3.5%, 5%, 10%, FHA loan, conventional loan. So FHA loan, there is a minimum, like, 3.5% you need down. Nowadays, even conventional loan, you can also have the 3.5% down. Both loan has, like, there is a USDA loan, VA loan, different kind of loans available. So it's not like that you have to have 20% down while you're buying your first home. You have to make huge down payment when you're buying the home. You can put as little as like 3% or 3.5%, and you can have your, you can move forward with your home. The next step is it's better when you start your process, know your credit score. I will say knowing your credit score or getting the recent credit report is the best way while you're starting the start the home buying process. And make sure all the information listed on your report is accurate, and work to correct any if there is mistake in the report, make sure you correct that one. And the higher your credit score, there is a more chance to get the better interest rate on your mortgage. So which, many potential buyers believe that they need to 350 score to get the pre-approval, or get the loan. But that even not true. The minimum credit score you require is 580 for the FHA loan, and 620 for the conventional loan. So it's not like that your score has to have to be like 750 and above. You can have the loan like at 580, you qualified for the FHA loan. And 620, you can have a conventional loan. And I will hear you, while your score is not good enough to get the loan, It's not that you are stuck and you cannot buy a home. There are some, if your score is low, then you can work on your credit score and you are able to get your credit score up and you're eligible for the loan. There are few, like I will give you some, tips to improve your credit score, that make sure you make all the payments like rent, your credit card, car loans, everything. Make sure you uh, make payment on time. And the second one is keep, like, down, check your errors on your credit reports or work toward to them. Sometimes you don't know that some people, like, some expense you did, or some some credit report, some companies claiming on your report credit, but that's not true. So you have to call them and make sure that everything is clear. So that's really helped to improve your credit score. I will say, when you're shopping for the mortgage rates, shop during the 30 days. So if you spread out a long time, then it's definitely impact on your credit. So make sure, don't put too much inquiry on your credit. Work with the credit counselor or the lender who can help you to improve your credit score. They can help you out and you can increase your credit score, and there is a chance you have a 580 credit score, but if you can improve your credit score, there is a more chance that you might be get the good interest rate on that on your loan. So before you, like, any process you think before, just go ahead and work on your credit score. The first thing the next thing I will say, find the perfect real estate agent. So there are so many real estate agents available nowadays, and it can be extremely confusing, and especially in the times of uncertainty like we are facing right now. When getting help with money, whether it is insurance, real estate, or the investment, you should always look for someone with the heart of the teacher, I will say, not the heart of the salesman. Hiring an agent who has a good knowledge of the current market and will make your buying experience so much easier, and understand your needs, understand you, what you're looking for, and like I will say, like, know you better, your like, that basically I will say, not see their benefit, but always look for what better for their clients. Find a real estate professional just like this, which is truly help you and guide you throughout the process, understand you. And as a first time home buyer, I know there are so many questions and concern. So make sure they help you and guide you step by step and lead you in the right place, and make sure your first home, you get the home which is like, you afford the home, you enjoy the home, and they also make you understand that buying, I know once you see the home and you fall in love, it's out, you stretch your budget and you move forward with the higher price, and later on you crush every day. So if it's good salesperson, agent is there, he will make sure that you don't stretch to your budget, and you make sure that you stay in your budget and have a peacefully life after you buy the home. So while you're choosing the real estate agent, so make also check out their social media account. You can see them, how active they are, how knowledgeable they are. So that help you understand that what kind of personality they have and all the other stuff. So basically choosing a real estate agent, it's really important, because it's all depend like what you will end up with. So the best agent are committed to educating consumer so they can feel confident when they are buying the home. That's what I will say. The step 4 is get pre-approved. When you're buying the home and when you're looking for the home, the temptation to fall in the love with the house that you're outside your budget is very real, and that's naturally. So before you start shopping around, it is helpful to know your price range. So what you are comfortable with in the monthly mortgage payment, and ultimately how much money you can borrow for your loan. So pre-approval from a lender is the only way to do this one. So I will say like that shows like when you have the when you are shopping for the home and you have pre-approved, which shows the homeowner that you are a serious buyer. Because nowadays in this market, this is, I will say, that seller market. So in this market, seller wants to see that how much the buyer is serious and how much he qualified and all this stuff. So it's pre-approval shows home and buyer you are serious, that seller that you are a serious buyer. It helps you to stand out from the crowd. If you get the if it's that is a multiple offer scenario, then it really help you out that your offer you pre-approved. There is a different thing as pre-qualified and pre-approved. So I will say get the pre-approval later instead of getting the pre-qualification later. That's better than the pre-approval letter is better than the pre-qualification letter. And for a buyer in this, especially in this market, typically essential to have the pre-approval done in order to submit an offer. So getting it done before you even look a home, it is a smart move that will enable enable a buyer to move fast to put an offer in the right home. So you basically, once if you like something and after that you go and get the pre-approval letter and all the stuff, and later on you figure out, okay, you are not qualified for that home, and the things is different, or if it's not work out, then it's disappointed. So it's better to get the pre-approval letter first. And step 5 is to find a home. So basically look like you know your criteria, basically what you're looking to in the home. Know your budget, know your criteria, what must have it, and what would be like to be heaven. So another thing is search and choose a neighborhood that you want to live in. So, and which is good school district, check the school district, check out the neighborhood, check out the community over there, and which is you might be not know more about that, but as a experienced real estate agent, they know the market better, the area better. So you have to communicate with your real estate agent that whatever you're looking for and what must have it, and in your home, even in your area, in the area you're looking for, the schools you're looking for. So you figure out all this stuff and find the location and find the home. First find the location where you want to move, and after that I will say find the location. But while you are visiting the home, and if you're interested that home, or you first time you're visiting and visiting 2 to 3 homes, make sure you have a proper document your visits, get pictures, get videos. So later on when you deciding which home you want to go, you have a better sense that, okay, which I know there is on MLS, there are pictures are there, but if you have your own videos and photos, you might have better understanding. You might be, while you are deciding which home you want to go, which one is better, then having all these your own pictures and your videos will help you out a little bit better than the just assuming something. The step 6 is make an offer. Making an offer, this is the step 6. So I will say once you like the home and consult with your agent that what is the best price you have to put on that home, what is that home is worth it. Realtor will help you to run the CMA to figure out the price, the home you like, it is right priced or it is not overpriced. The CMA called comparative market analysis report. So that report shows that recently last year sold home in that neighborhood, pending home which is already in under contract in that neighborhood, and the active homes in that neighborhood. So basically based on that 3 reports, sold properties, pending properties, and the active properties, you can understand that what is it, whatever the price the seller listed, is it right price. So make sure you are not overpaying that price, and also compare with the, I will say, the upgrades inside the home, that what upgrades seller make inside the home compared to other homes in that neighborhood. Mostly pay attention on the sold property instead of pending property and active property, because sold property tell you the exact amount that per square feet how much it's sold, which is give you better knowledge and better understanding that what this price worth to be. Sometimes some seller is not realistic. So active properties, I will say, if it's overpriced and if you're still comparing with that property with the home you like, you might be not get the right price on that one. But and pending property, you don't know exactly what price seller is agreed to pay for that buyer is agreed to pay for that property. So even that is also not giving you the exact amount that what is the final price for that home. So more pay attention when you're checking the CMA, pay more attention on the on the sold property. No, and I'm not telling that pending and active is not important, but sold properties are more important compared to pending and active properties. When you make the offer, make the solid offer. When, especially during this market, nowadays seller is having like multiple offer situation, and property is going under contract within a 10-15 days. That's normal nowadays. So if you like the home, you see your comparative market analysis report, and you think that okay, this home is worth it, whatever you want to put the offer. So there are so many other tips to put the offer to, that other expenses also there in the contract, just like a survey cost, I will say title policy cost and all other costs. So while you are making the offer, while you are preparing the offer, make sure you and you want to, whenever you are competing with 2 to 3 other offer too, it's a multiple offer situation. Make sure you guys put the offer which is present really strongly. I will say putting down payment, if you have more down payment and if you're putting more down payment compared to 3.5%, that offer is comparatively strong offer. Your pre-approval letter is really important too while you're putting the offer. And so many like agent like me, if I get the offer, if I received offer on my listing, first thing I call to the lender and just make sure before I accept my offer, I make sure that lender is approved for, and the after with the conversation with the lender, make sure the lender is confidence enough that he can close these loans. So I don't want to waste my seller time and waste all the effort whatever I'm putting on that offer. So pre-approval letter and choosing a lender is also very important. So put the offer which is strong enough, which shows the value to the seller. If it's closing date, put the under 30 days. So all seller wants to move as soon as possible. So if you are putting closing date under 30 days or within 30 days, then that says your offer is really strong. Showing option money 250 and above, that is a good option. That is a good things to show that okay, you are willing to put a good amount of money as option money. And putting less days is also attract the seller in this situation. So basically whenever you putting the offer, make sure all work out both way, that you are not losing anything, and at the same time which make offer which also attract the seller too. And be prepared to negotiate too. That don't assume that whatever you put the offer, seller will accept as it is. In this situation, you have to be prepared that definitely you might be get some negotiation. Nowadays, I'm seeing so many, if its property is good, seller is getting full price offer, and they are accepting mostly full price offer. So be prepared for the negotiation in this situation, that on some, either on the money side or either on the terms and condition wise. So while you're moving forward and you negotiate with the seller, these points you have to take care of it, like what's going on next, and how you can protect you from your side, and the same time you also have to make sure that you are giving your best to not lose that home which you really like it. So whether you're buying your first home or your fifth home, having a local professional on your side to expert, who is in the expert in the market, the best debate, making the sure that process goes smoothly while they are negotiating. And when you put the offer and doing the negotiation, if it's expert is on your side, then I'm telling you, you will definitely win the game. So that's another thing. The step 7 is have a home inspection. So you made an offer and it was accepted, so congratulations. Your next step is to inspect the home before the closing. So agent often recommended to you to offer a contingent upon the clean home inspection. This contingency allow you to renegotiate the price you offered for the home. Ask the seller to cover repairs, I will say, or in some cases walk away if challenges arise. If it's some big deal going on and seller is not, there is a big issues, I will say, like a foundation and roof. Those are the biggest issue in resale home. So if you see there is a foundation issue or roof is aged, and you might be, after moving in that home, you might be have a big expense, then I will say walk away from the offer. You have that option days available, which you can walk away from the offer. Still you can have your earnest money back. So if something according to that, so just make sure that you have a better understanding and you have better knowledge that what you're supposed to be do. Mostly resale home, those are not the new homes, so wear and tear will be there, but you have to understand which repairs has to be done to buy before you buy that home. And the major, mostly you have to check about the AC unit, water heater, I will say a roof, foundation. Those are really big expenses that you have to be, if you're not paying attention during the inspection time, then that's cost you a lot after you move in the home. So make sure all the appliances, it's what's the age of the appliances, make sure what is the age of roof, and check the foundation and all this stuff. Those are the really important things. And some I will say, like, try to be depend on the, where you are negotiating the price and all this stuff, but as many as item you can fix, if seller can fix it, that's better for you. Ask for, when you are making the contract, make sure, talk to your agent and make sure they get first year home warranty from the seller, which is help you little bit once after you move in the home. That will help you little bit to, if something broken or something happened, so at least you have that home warranty which covered you some big expenses. So check with your agent that they are asking seller to pay the home warranty for first year. The next step is get the home appraisal done. The appraisal will inspect the home, and they do the research on the home, like that have recently sold in the area, and report back to the bank whatever it deems to be the value of the house. The bank must feel comfortable that the value is strong enough to justify using the home as a collateral for the loan. So the appraisal process can be much more difficult in the current environment than it has been in the past because of this pandemic situation, and like, it's a seller market. So nowadays many people, it's when it's a multiple situation, people are paying more than the what the value of the home. So it's real. Now I can see nowadays challenging in that part too, that people willing to pay the whatever the sales price, but appraisal value is not coming that much. So you have to be make sure that whatever you're paying, just I will say don't overpay. Yeah, that understandable. You like the home, you want to move forward with that home, but if it's bank say it's not worth it that value, then I will say that's not make any sense to pay more amount of money for that home, because I say right now real estate market is good, but you don't know what is future of real estate next 5 years, after 5 years. So just when you make this decision and appraisal come low, so and if you think to pay extra money, more money to down, then just think twice before you make that decision, because you might be not get whatever the money you are putting extra right now, or you are paying extra seller right now, you might be not get that back when you are trying to sell that property after 5-10 years. So whenever you make that decision, so always see what is the appraisal come on that property. That's really important. The step 9 is close the sale. So basically schedule the closing date once all the loan your loan is approved and all paperwork is done from the title side and the lender, and you received your final closing disclosure from your lender. At that time, you know how much exact amount you have to take to the title company to close your home. They will also calculate your closing cost and your down payment and all the other expense. So once you have that documents, just make sure you schedule the closing date with the title company and sign all the paperwork and have a better, like, before you go before you get your closing disclosure, make sure you check everything with your lender, that what is the expense, and check with the detail that whatever you agree to pay to the lender, whatever you agree to pay the down payment, what is the property tax, and I will say discuss your closing disclosure with your lender and also with your agent if you have any question and concern. And then go and check with the title company if you have any question on regarding the title or anything. And that's what you can sign all the final paperwork at the title company on closing date. And step 10 is move in. So basically, after you sign all the documents, you are moving in your home. So congratulations that you are a homeowner now.
Yeah, thank you, Bundaji, for explaining all the steps in detail. So I requested Sai also to present it, because right, every state is different, the tips and techniques are different. So
Yes.
But please stay back, Bundaji, because there are a few questions from our participants. So
Okay, sure.
once Sai presents, then I'll open it up for Q&A. So
Okay.
you and Sai can answer all the questions.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Sai, it's all yours.
Sure, sir.
You can start sharing.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank Kishore Garu for giving me this opportunity to educate all the Indian community and also learn from you all at the same time. My name is Sai Vankaila. I'm a real estate agent with TrueBlade Real Estate. I have been helping a lot of my clients in the area to find their dream home. And over a period of like many years, I have come up with some first time home buyer tips, and I really wanted to share this valuable knowledge with you all. So in today's talk, I would like to talk about the following: location, price, key features, importance of using a realtor, right, rather than buying a for sale by owner home, property inspection, mortgage. Do you have to sell your home or keep it as investment once you make the purchase, right? So let's talk about each one of this. So the most important thing anybody would say in real estate is location, 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 right? Because for real estate, you cannot really change the location, right? I mean, once you buy a property, that's it for the rest of the life, right? The location is not going to be changed. So when you decide, I want to buy a property, pay utmost attention towards the location, right? So what factors really govern the location? Most important thing I would tell you all is school district, right? So make sure the school district is really, really good. You can check out the school ratings by going to the website greatschools.org, right? So it's right here, greatschools.org. So, please do, explore, take some time and explore that. And the second thing would be, do you prefer scenic beauty or do you prefer convenience, right? So what do you mean? What do we mean by convenience? Is the neighborhood close to highways so that you can go faster to work, commute faster to work? Is it close to shopping centers, restaurants, grocery stores, right? Or is it school? Is it very close to the school? So these are the things you have to evaluate, right? If you are comfortable to stay a little bit farther away, you might find some really beautiful scenic-based, neighborhoods. And the other thing you have to look at is whenever you buy a property, in my opinion, this is one of the most important, because is it an upcoming area, right? I mean, most of us know, like, those of us who actually bought the properties in San Francisco, like 20 years ago, they were able to afford the single family homes for like $200,000. Now the same house is more than like, $2 million or $3 million, right? Because they have invested in upcoming areas like 20 years ago, right? So the same thing can happen with you maybe 20 years down the line. So make sure you buy the property in a good upcoming area. So how do you know if it's an upcoming area, right? I mean, just follow the news, find out information from the local chamber, from the city chamber. They would post information about the new companies moving in. Are they expanding the roads, new lanes coming, new construction work is going on, new shopping centers are being opened up, right? So these are all the things that will give an indication that the area is developing, right? And you should also mind where you are taking the lot within the neighborhood, right? So a lot of people don't pay attention to this one, but within the neighborhood is very important, like a good neighborhood, right? So when it's time for resale of your property, if you are taking the property, if you're taking the lot in a good private area, right? So that adds value. If it's right next to water, adds value, right? So, and if it has got some scenic beauty at the background, right? That adds value. So these are the things you have to look for. What if the house is the very first house when you enter the neighborhood? The value automatically drops, right? So these are the things you have to be careful about. And the next thing I want to talk about is like Vastu. So out of my experience with many of my clients, not all, many of my clients really pay attention towards the Vastu, right? So Vastu is the Indian Feng Shui, right? So many people are very particular about the Vastu. So I happen to talk to several priests in different temples across different cities. And many people told me the same thing, that US is called a Bhoga Bhumi, right? Means it's a land of pleasure, right? And it's a land for wealth, pleasure, everything. Whereas India is called Karma Bhumi, right? So it's a land of action, right? Right actions. So Vastu is very, very important for people who are living in India, right? Then for people who are living in the US. But they said, instead of looking at every minute details of the house, the most important thing you got to focus is the entrance of the house. Is it facing the east, north, or northeast? So if you're able to focus on that, that is good enough within the US, right? But again, if you're very picky about Vastu, if you say, hey, my parents are not going to be okay with this, you have to go for custom built house, which will cost you close to $1 million. Okay. So the next point I want to talk about is price, right? If you don't buy the property at the right price, you're burning your money. Okay. So what is the sweet price point you should buy a property at, right? So I would say it should be 3 times your annual salary. Okay, your combined house annual salary is the max you should go for, right? It's always good to go for less, right? And make sure your monthly mortgage payments should account for less than 28% of your monthly income, right? And every person's case is different, right? They have a lot of commitments back in India, a lot of other commitments, within the US. You would have invested a lot of your funds in different, maybe stocks and whatnot, right? So speak with your mortgage officer, and they can give you good suggestions based upon your specific situation, and they can tell you what is the maximum price of the house which you can afford, right? And how do you know if you're actually getting a good price when you buy the property, right? So this is where realtors come into play, right? Realtors do something called CMA, comparative market analysis. So what they do is they basically pull up the recent comparable sales of the homes that have been sold, and then they will evaluate what is the value of the home which you liked, right? So you don't want to overpay. If you are overpaying, you have to definitely make sure that the property has good improvements, upgrades, or replacements of the key components like roof, HVAC system, maybe any like additions to the property like adding a sunroom, things like that, right? Then it's okay to pay a little bit more. Sometimes many of my clients are like, hey, I'm able to get a property for a much cheaper price. I really want to buy this. It's very cheap. So the first question I ask them is, what is the HOA fee? So they're like, yeah, I found this condo for like, $200,000, but the HOA is like $400 per month. So I'll tell them, anytime the HOA fees is extremely high, you're putting all your money in the drain, right? It's garbage. So if the money goes towards your mortgage payments, most of the money goes towards your principal, and you build equity, right? So it's okay to buy a little bit expensive home, which has got a lower HOA fees than buying a home with extremely high HOA fees. So I wouldn't advise, but again, it's a personal choice. It's up to you. How much money should you really save up to buy a home, right? So there are lenders that can let you own a home for as little as 3% to 5% down payment. And so I would recommend you all to have minimum 5% down payment money plus the closing costs. Closing costs, depending upon the states, different states in the US, it can range anywhere from 1 to 5% of the purchase price. In Indiana, it's between 1 to 1.5, right? And also you need to have some money for making immediate repairs, right? So let's say you got a very good deal on the property, right? But what if the property needs some repairs? You got to keep some money aside, right, to make all the repairs. If it's a brand new construction, you have to keep some money aside for buying appliances like refrigerator, washer, dryer, right? Ceiling fans, fancy lights, anything you want to make, right? So this would be the amount of money which you got to calculate and keep it aside if you really want to buy the home, okay? And the next important thing is what key features are required for the home, right? So, I mean, what do you really have to look for in a home? So that is very personal. It differs from person to person, family to family, right? So I would say before you start searching for a home, visualize what kind of top 3 features, must-have features you don't want to compromise in a home. So write them down, right? Write them down. So it could be anything like, some people love the 2-story gathering rooms, a loft, or sunroom, for enjoying in the evening time for like nice scenic beauty, right? And there's a lot of other things, maybe 3-car garage, right? So you have to make a list of all the features which you really want to have, and these are structural features, right? Then for the nitty-bitty details like the small key features, you can ask your realtors, ask for the suggestion, right? So ask them, what exactly do I need to have if I go for a new construction home, right? So many realtors would tell you, you definitely got to have an upgraded kitchen, right? Have granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, uh, upgraded kitchen, upgraded master bathrooms, bedrooms. And one of the most important thing many realtors don't tell is that always have 8-pound padding under your carpet. That makes your carpet feel like, very robust and sturdy, right? It feels like expensive carpet. And kitchen, you always want to have the range hood. It's good to have a gas range, because when you cook the food with gas based, range, it tastes better. Um if you ask me why, that's a totally different topic. So and something like water softener, drinking water filtration system, whatnot. I mean, all these different things. So your realtor can actually tell you what all things you need to have, right? And the other factor you have to consider is, when you buy a property that has a basement, do you want to buy that as unfinished, or do you want to buy that as finished, right? So there are multiple things which you got to keep in mind. I would recommend you to go for unfinished basement, because you will have a better clarity, right? You can talk to your friends, you can talk to your family, see different houses, you get ideas, right? How you can improve your basement. So then you can hire some local basement expert who does the job for a much cheaper price. How do you find those experts? Talk to your friends. They would have definitely used. They would have, they can give you a lot more tips, right? Or talk to your realtor. He can give you some really good contractors information who can do for very cheap, at the same time excellent job, right? So that's with respect to the key features. And one of the most important thing I would emphasize anytime is realtor. Use a realtor for any of your real estate transaction. Any transaction, I would say. If you have to spend money from your pocket, little bit of money to hire a realtor, do it, right? Most of the times, the realtor commission is paid by the sellers, right? But sometimes there are cases in which the buyer wants to buy a for sale by owner property, right? So the for sale by owner property, the owner sometimes tends to be very, very greedy. He tries to save money in all possible ways. He'll also kind of like cut. He'll try to put all the closing costs on you. He will not let you negotiate properly. But when you get a realtor into picture, the whole equation changes, right? They'll help you to negotiate. They'll help you to negotiate the property inspection problems, right? A lot of things. So if you go for a for sale by owner type of properties, hire a realtor. It's good for you in a lot of ways. So advantage of having a realtor, right? Most 95% or maybe 99% of the time, the seller pays the commission for the realtor. So you should hire a realtor, right? Why? Because somebody else is paying for the realtor and the realtor is working for you, right? That is such a beautiful thing. So ask every and all possible questions related to the first time home buying process to your real estate agent. Get educated, use them completely, right? Get educated, get all the knowledge, right? And the realtors, once they know what criteria you're looking for in properties, they will find the properties that matches your criteria. You know how much time that would save you? If you exactly tell them what do you want, you don't have to waste your time looking every single day on Zillow, Redfin, right? They would put up like a search criteria, and you would instantly get all the properties that matches your criteria once in a day, or maybe instantly as soon as they come onto the market. So that's a great benefit. And most importantly, any property you like, what if the property is expensive, right? You don't want to pay too much money, because if you end up paying too much money right now, maybe 3 years down the line, you might lose money when you sell the property, right? So you want to pay the market value or less than market value. So for that, the realtor will help you to get the market comparables. So some of you can ask me, hey, I can find the information from Zillow. Let me tell you all, Zillow is crap. So Zillow uses some sort of like automated algorithm. It clubs different neighborhoods, right? It takes a rich community, it takes a poor community. Doesn't matter if it falls within 1 mile radius or whatever radius, right? It mixes all these neighborhoods and tries to give you some average. So most of the times, the Zillow values are wrong. Sometimes you get lucky, and it might be close to the market value. The realtor also helps you to schedule showings and shows the property to you. And as soon as they show the property to you, they can actually point out the problems in the property and tell you, hey, don't even waste your time going to this property because this property has these issues. Or they'll tell, don't miss this property. This is underpriced and this is one of the best. Just send an offer right now, right? If a property is really good, it matches all your criteria, you don't want to lose the opportunity, right? So a realtor will help you make a decision quickly. And the most important thing I would tell is the realtors help you with respect to property inspection and negotiates with the property inspections to make sure the seller fixes all the repairs. If the sellers are not fixing the repairs, he'll make sure to get you a reduction in the purchase price. Both are cool. And most important thing what realtors do is they help you to keep track of all critical deadlines. That's the most important thing, right? So I would say for you to really find who is a good real estate agent that can really help you find your dream home, interview multiple real estate agents, right? See, if you get a good referral, that's fine, just go with them. But if you don't have a good referral, you don't know any realtor in the town, don't just talk to one person, talk to multiple people, talk to maybe 3-4 people, right? And with whomever you connect, right? By talking about the service, what they are going to offer to you, and are they available to you to show the homes, or will they say, hey, I don't have availability for the next 2 days because this market is so hot. If a realtor says, I don't have time for you, in the next 2 days, the property will be gone within the same day, right? So you don't want to work with realtors who are extremely busy that don't have time for you, right? So you want realtors to have time for you. And buyer rebates, when I say buyer rebate, many people are like, it's illegal, right? No, buyer rebates are completely legal, but some states it's illegal. So you got to fine, but in Indiana, it's completely legal. So ask upfront about buyer rebates in writing with your real estate agent, right? Sometimes, some realtors would promise you, hey, I'm going to give you this much amount of rebate, but they may not really do it, right? So it's always good to get the rebate amount in writing, right? So rebates are legal as long as it's disclosed to all the parties in the transaction, okay? And let me tell you one thing. So most people start to focus extremely just on the buyer rebate, right? And they ignore all the other benefits that the realtor would offer, right? So, and they're like, I want the highest buyer rebate, right? I don't care about the service. If you do that, you're really going to lose lots and lots of money, right? Could be in tens of thousands of dollars. Why? If the realtor doesn't do a good job in negotiating the property inspections, you might have to pay for a brand new roof, right? You might have to pay for structural issues, right? But you got a good rebate. Is that going to really suffice? No. So focus on good service, then rebate amount. And one other part, the agents would really help is in property inspection, right? All of you, if you really want to buy a resale home, spend money on property inspection, termite inspection, and radon inspection if the house has a basement, right? Radon inspection only if the house has a basement or crawl space. But property inspection, termite inspection, do for every single property, okay? And if there is a defect, right, that's going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars. Inspections will cost you only $500, right? I mean, $500 is not a really big amount when it's especially saving you the best and the biggest investment of your life, right? And if possible, go attend the property inspection with your realtor, or you can attend the property inspection with the contractor. Ask them questions, educate yourself, right? Ask them, okay, what are you doing here? Okay, what about this problem? What about this problem? They can educate you, right? Why? Why do you need this education? What if you plan to buy some investment property like 2 years down the line? So this knowledge helps you, right? So go attend the property inspections. And in the property inspections, if the inspector says, hey, you better hire some experts to evaluate maybe the roof or HVAC or structure, do hire them, spend the money, because again, it's the biggest investment of your life. You don't want to risk a mere $50 or $100, right? once you find problems from the property inspection, the realtor will do a great job in negotiating either the repairs or get a reduction in the purchase price. Okay. Next, I would like to talk about the mortgage. So mortgage is a big factor, right? It's a big factor. So most people ask, what score do I need to have to get the best rate, right? If you have 740 plus, you get the best of everything, best of all worlds, right? But if you have 700 plus, you still get the best rate. But if you're planning to put up like maybe 5% down payment, your PMI might be slightly higher when compared to 740 plus score, okay? It's not the end of the world. It's going to make a difference of maybe $20 per month, okay? It's still not bad. And if you have a good reference from your friends or realtors, use that mortgage broker, right? If you don't know any mortgage broker, talk to multiple mortgage officers, right? And compare the rates they're offering you. So what do you compare? Do you compare the interest rate? That's completely wrong, right? You always have to compare the APR, right? APR will include the interest rates plus all the lender charges, right? The lender charges will be amortized for the period of the loan, and you'll get a final annual percentage rate, APR rate. You have to compare the APRs between different lenders for the same conditions, okay? Don't compare 15-year to 30-year. That doesn't make any sense, right? So compare 30 to 30, compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, okay? So which loan is better? Should I go for 15-year loan or should I go for 30-year loan, right? 30 years loan. I would tell you, if you are financially able to afford higher payments, go for a 15-year mortgage. You know why? When you go for a 15-year mortgage, right? What happens is 75% of the mortgage payment which you make will be applied towards the principal. I wouldn't say 75%, very high amount, right? Maybe 65 plus amount, right? But whereas if you go for a 30-year mortgage, maybe close to 25% of the money will be applied towards the principal. So where is 65 plus and where is 25 plus, right? So, and you get to own the home within 15 years, right? That's really cool, right? So the main rule of like, you know, happy life is you should be able to have a free and clear property by the time you turn 55 or, you know, whatever is your target, right? You don't want to keep making mortgage payments at that point of time when you reach 55, right? So plan accordingly. I would recommend you to go for 15 years if you can afford it. And many states offer first-time home buyer down payment assistance program. So they basically pay for the entire down payment amount up to from 3.5% to up to 6%, right? Depending upon the states. So Indiana does offer from 3.5% to 6%, including all closing costs, etc. But you have to be a green card holder, and you have to fall under low income category, right? And you should have some reasonable credit scores. But however, your interest rates are going to be high. They're going to start in 4+ interest rates, right? And you will not be able to refinance the property for the next maybe 2 to 3 years, right? And you have to work only with some government approved lenders. Not everybody can do that. So, and for people that are having lower credit scores, right? Like, you know, 600 plus and whatnot, try FHA loans, right? FHA, federal housing loans. One disadvantage with this loan is that you have to do something called upfront mortgage insurance premium. You have to pay up to 1.75% of the purchase price upfront to FHA. Also, throughout the life of the FHA loan, right? If it's for 30 years or maybe 15 years, you have to keep paying mortgage insurance premium. So that's a bummer. So the closing costs are also expensive for FHA loans, okay? And before you guys start seeing any property, right? I mean, any property, because in this current market, inventory is very, very limited, and properties are just going very fast, right? So you want to have a pre-approval letter in hand, and the mortgage officer can actually help you, right? And sometimes what happens, right? Some mortgage officers might tell, hey, you're not qualified. Okay. Don't get disheartened. They might say you're at the border, you're slightly falling behind. Okay. So don't work with the mortgage officer. Come out of the transaction right away. Hire experienced mortgage officer. They can always find you ways how to qualify you, especially if you're at the border. They have so many solutions which are completely legal, right? It's legal. So hire with experienced people to make things happen in the mortgage industry. So the next point is, once you buy the property, do you have to sell the property, or do you want to keep the property as investment, let's say after 5 years down the line? Because on an average, most people in the US, when they buy the property as first-time home buyer, they tend to keep the property for 5 to 7 years, right? 5 to 7 years is kind of the average time. So after that time, do you sell the property or do you keep the property for investment, right? So here is a simple Excel calculation I have done. Any property, find out first, the first thing you got to do is find out the comparable market analysis about the rents in the neighborhood. Once you know what the rents are, right? Once you know what the rents are, put up in your Excel file, see is the property giving you good cash flow once you rent the property out. If it's giving you a good cash flow of like $500 or maybe $700, I mean, just keep the property. Why do you want to sell like a golden goose, right? I mean, nobody wants to miss that. So I hope this really helps you all. And if you really follow all of the tips which I have suggested right now, you'll find your dream home for the right price and with all the features you wanted. And if anyone is looking for a home within Indiana, especially for new construction, I can help anybody. I'm an expert in that area. And thank you again. Thank you, Kishore Garu, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Sai. Thank you for sharing a lot of great tips and the process which we all need to follow. A lot of great information from both the speakers. We also have a lender also on the call today, but again, due to the time constraints, we have Rishi Sharma. He's a lender. If you have any questions related to lending process or something, feel free to post them in the chat window. Next 15 minutes we'll use for Q&A, and then if there are more questions, we can have a follow-up sessions. So I'll start with questions. Both of you can answer. So let me. Question to Sai: is it a good idea to put more money, like more than 20-25% as down payment, if somebody can afford it?
I mean, right now in the given current market, interest rates of like 2% for 15-year and 2.625% for 30-year rates are extremely low. It's free money. So why would you give more money to the bank when it's not giving you any returns, right? Yep. So I would say go with 5% down payment because it's all free money. Invest the money into something else. Invest the money into stocks or maybe other areas, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great point. Right, there are a lot of other strategies where you can make minimum 5, 6, 8% or more than that. So yeah, great point, Sai. So it is always better to, when the interest rates are so low, let's pay as less as possible and invest that money somewhere else.
Exactly.
Next question to Brundaji. How long the pre-approved loan is valid for? So if we have a pre-approval letter, so how long it is valid? Is it for 3 months or 6 months?
Normally it's I will say 3 months. But if once you pre-approved, it's not like if your job is same, your expense are same, and you are not taking any more liabilities. So I will say you can get the next pre-approval letter very easily for same amount of money, as long as your financial situation is not changing, and as far as you are not you are not taking another loan or something.
So is there any cost, Brindaji, to get a pre-approval letter from a lender, or is generally?
No, there is no cost to get the pre-approval letter. And within, I will say, my preferred lender, Rishi Sharma, he within a half an hour, he qualified to my client. He talked to them. He just see the documents, and within a half an hour, most of my client, he give the pre-approval letter for within a half an hour. So that's not cost, and it's not a long lengthy process, or it's not time consuming process at all.
So do they run any credit checks or something like that?
Yes, they have to run the credit, but if you don't want to run the credit and you just want to know how much approximately you qualified, you want to get the roughly idea, he also help out with that one too. Unless you give him a permission and you says, okay, now I'm really serious looking to buy my home, and I need a pre-approval letter to, put the offer. At that time, he give he run the credit and give you the move the process ahead. Otherwise, most of them, if the applicant is on W-2, he let them know what's the income they have, what the expense they have, so he give them estimate pre-approval letter right away.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Next question to Sai. So generally, how much ahead of time one should start looking for a home? For example, if somebody is living in apartment and lease is coming to an end in 6 months, is that the right time, or 3 months? Generally, what is the average?
Sure, that's a definitely good question for many of you, that you might have the same question. In my opinion, if you want to go for a new construction, you have to do at least 7 months in advance, or 8 months in advance, I would say. But if you're looking for a resale home, don't think that you'll find the resale home right away within like a week or so, because the inventory is so low right now. Many people are taking time, right? So I would say start looking for homes at least 3 to 4 months ahead if you're looking for resale homes. Because there are multiple steps for resale homes. You have to keep looking at properties. For you to find the dream home, it might take you a month, right? And once you find your home, you have to get into contract. And the contract usually goes about 45 days in Indiana right now. And once you are done with the closing, I mean, you own the property. So I would say 3 to 4 months before for resale homes.
Yep, thank you, Sai. Next question to Brindaji. Can we buy a property on a F1 visa? And are there any lenders whom we can contact who can help if we are on F1?
Okay, let me, if you can unmute to the Rishi, then he might have a better answer for that one.
Yeah, he's actually a co-host. He can unmute.
Okay.
Hey, hi, Sai. Hi, everyone. So any visa where you are legally employed in the US, that would allow you to buy a house. Now, F1 visa, I basically think that it is a legal work permit as well. So yes, you can.
So can you help if somebody is on F1 as a?
Yes, definitely. They can reach out to me. I actually just posted my contact number on the chat window as well, so they can reach out to me, and I can definitely contact them, and we can work together to see how we can help them qualify for a loan. And again, obviously, when you say can they, definitely, if they qualify for everything else, yes, they can qualify for a house based on their credit scores and all the other parameters.
And Rishiji, can you do only within Texas, or you can be a lender for any other state?
Sir, I am authorized to lend in Texas, California, Florida, and New Jersey. These are the 4 states that we cater at this time. But predominantly, I've been doing loans only in Texas and California for the last 10 odd years. So expertise are in Texas and California, but we do lend in Florida and New Jersey as well. So if anyone has any requirements, they could reach out. And I think I'll just like to share one point within the next 1 minute. I think people have been on this call for quite some time. anyone who's on rent at this time, it makes great sense for them to purchase a house, considering rates are low. They would probably paying only $200 or $300 more than their rent, which actually is going towards their principal, and they will be homeowners with the way rates are. And people could buy houses with as low as 5% with if their credit score is good, and with 3.5% if their credit score is bad and they go for an FHA loan. We don't recommend FHA because it's got a lot of other factors. But if you have good credit scores, you can buy with 5% down, and you'll eventually see that the interest and excluding principal, you're paying less than the rent that you're currently paying. All right, I'll let you go forward, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rishiji. Yeah, that's a good point. Next question to Brindaji. Is there any best time in the year to look for a home, like November, December, or?
So normally in the summer, I will say real estate market is hot because every school start and all this stuff. So everybody's start to move. If the seller is planning to sell, they planning during they start the listing their home in March, and until March to August, September, mid-September, I will say real estate market is always hot. But normally November, December, it's slow down. So if you're looking to better price, I will say, yeah, winter is time that you might be, there is a chance to get the better deal. But this year, I will say it's real estate market is like since the March, I don't see going down or, like it's getting better. Right now, I will say it's a seller market, and because interest rate is low, so everybody is active. So, and it's continue going on. It's not like this year is totally different if I compare to the other years. So demand is increasing day by day, and it's we accept as a realtor, we accept, okay, after September we will slow down, but I don't see any slowdown right now. It's just keep increasing and increasing. So if you're planning to buy this year, and looking for the good deal, that okay, the house might be sitting in the market for a long time and we will get the good deal. So in this November, December, there is no chance. But right now, if you compare to other years, right now interest rate is historically low. So eventually you are saving a lot of money in your interest rate. So this year is definitely best year to move forward with your first home. There is no doubt about it.
Okay, thank you. Next question to Sai. There are some homes sale by owner, and they are not interested to work with a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And if we like the house, how can we proceed in those situations?
Sure. I mean, just now I talked about that point in the lecture. So I would recommend you to hire a real estate agent because they can help you in writing the contract. They can help you in negotiating the purchase price. They can help you to negotiate any property repairs that needs to be fixed. They can also negotiate on the closing costs, right? If you don't have a realtor, right, what happens is the first sell by owner doesn't have a lot of idea. He thinks his house is one of the best, and he will not come down on anything. And moreover, always keep this in mind. Most of our Indian realtors, we give buyer rebate, okay? And when the buyer rebate is coming to you, right? So let's say it's 50%, buyer rebate commission. With 50%, you're getting almost like $5,000 to $7,000 extra benefit, right? From the realtor. So it could be even up to $10,000. But if you directly go to the first sell by owner, you're not getting any rebate. You're not getting any benefit at all, right? On top of it, you're missing in on the negotiation part, which will be professionally handled by a real estate agent.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, definitely a professional always can do a better job, right? We should not look for the cents. We'll be spending dollars by looking for cents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Sai. Next question to Brindaji. Can we find the marketable comparison without using a realtor help?
Basically, the only I will say it's hard to do that one because we have exit amount of value of sold property. So which is might be difficult to find somewhere else. And as I Sai mentioned that Zillow, if you're checking something in Zillow, it's totally, they are not giving you right information and all this stuff. So rely on Zillow, it's not a good thing. But if you have if you're looking for the CMA report, you can reach me out anytime. I don't charge anything for to give you the comparative market analysis report. I can help you out with that one. If somebody's want to see, I don't charge anything. I definitely help you out if you want to know what is if the house you like or any question you have regarding the home and the neighborhood, I will help you out with that one. I don't charge anything. You don't have to be my client if you want to know what is the property value for that any particular home.
Yeah, thank you, Brindaji. Next one to Sai. If you have an outstanding loan on your current resident home, how likelihood will you get an approval for another loan for an investment home? Is there any rule of thumb on the lending limits?
Sure. I mean, to be frank, it all depends upon the debt to income ratio of the individual. If the individual is making more money, right, than the current loan, it will be accounted for in the debt to income calculations done by the lender. And the lender can tell you if you can buy a second home. If yes, what is the maximum amount you are eligible to buy the investment property for. So I would direct you, anybody who wants to buy investment property, I would direct you to meet with some experienced lender, right? I mean, the lender is very, very important, mortgage officer, and ask what is the maximum money I can spend on investment properties.
So just to add to that, and this is Rishi again, you could qualify because we could offset the payment on that house if you have a valid lease agreement or someone is ready to rent your house. All we need is a lease agreement and we can offset that particular income, that particular expense of yours, depending on what is the fair market rent in that particular area. And you can buy your new house if it is going to be your new primary with just 5% down.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, next question to Brindaji. How constant are the school ratings?
So basically they are talking about the Houston area or overall?
Yeah, you can mention about Houston. And
Okay. So basically school rating, if I say like in most area on Katy and Sugar Land, you see that school rating is already there. That's why the people more attract to buy their home there. Nowadays there are so many new schools coming. They are rezoning the school, and people scared to buy and go the home in that new school new school zone. So I will say that I seen that. And with so many clients, they also have concern that, okay, we like the new home, but we don't want to go, we just, in particular school zone, we want to buy this home. I will say, obviously, for Katy ISD, and it's a really good, and Fort Bend School District is also good. But some people concern about the Lamar ISD, and they think it's not good. But new community is coming, and any new schools, it's take time to build their rating. So if it's new school, so don't assume that that rating is not good. The new school, wherever they are building the close to the, like I will say, if you go with the Katy or you go to Sugar Land or Richmond area, there are new schools. But the thing is, people, wherever the Indian communities go, school rating automatically go good. So new, and our community, they prefer to have at least new home. They don't, as my experience, they don't want to go with too old home and all this stuff. So school rating takes time, but you can see that within 4 or 5 years, you can see the increasing the rate of the schools. The another thing is in the Katy especially, and in Cross Creek Ranch, it says some area is Lamar ISD, and they have new schools. Same here in the Richmond area too. there are like, Aliana has new schools and all this stuff. The reason is that school's rating will be also go good because our communities are there. And the old schools, the teacher I just spoke other day, I was talking with the one of the KT district's schools principal, and she was telling me that nowadays new schools are building, and their experienced teacher, they are moving in the new schools to have a better benefit and get the good salary. So it's not like that new schools mean all new teachers are there. You might, in the new schools, you might have a better technology compared to the old school. So, but definitely that school take time to build their rating, but that doesn't mean that schools are not good at all, or don't scare to go with those community which has new school. Definitely eventually they will build their rating.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, thank you. Next question to Sai from Sai. I am on H1. If I move out of US and return after 2 or 3 years, what are the options to manage the property in between?
Okay, that's a very good question. So what I would tell you is that if you're going to come back, you're going to come back very soon. Don't sell the property. Give the property for rent. I have helped a couple of my friends who had to go to India for short term and come back. I had leased their properties for 1 year, and as soon as they came back, after 1 year, they got their property back. So that is one thing you can do. But if you think you're not going to come back, then I would tell you to just put the property for sale. Put the property for sale and take all the money back to India.
Okay. Yeah. Next question to Brindaji. Which builders are considered good builders in Texas area?
Texas area, I will say all builder, each and every builder has something unique and something different with the offer. It's also depend on what price range you're looking for. For the economical wise, I will say DR Horton is good. Then Meritage is good. Perry Home is good. So many, basically different builder has their unique style, and I will say the quality which they can convince to client to buy their home. But if it's ask me any particular builder, I can compare with another builder to them, and I can tell them that, okay, this is the things, it separate this builder to other builders. But all builders try to, give you the best quality and best incentives. They want to stand in the market, and they try their best to give you best. But if you want me to compare one to another, then I can give you the better idea which one is better than other one.
Yeah. Question to Sai. How can someone find a good home inspector if we don't have any referrals?
Best option would be to ask the real estate agent, because every realtor works with at least 4 to 5 companies, and they can recommend the best inspection company to you. Or the second option would be, if you know any of your family friends, or maybe friends who recently bought a resale home and used an inspector that had good experience, you can also get some referrals from them.
And I will add one more thing over here, that whatever the inspector your realtor suggests, go and also check their Google review too. So you might have better sense that who is best in all of them.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Next question to Brindaji. Can we switch the realtor after the offer is accepted and after the option period? The reason is the realtor is not good, or he's giving less cash back.
So there is no chance if you have a contract with them and whoever already helped you to move forward that process. So at that point, you don't have any, I will say you cannot change it, but still both parties agree to do that one, then it's still possible. But 98%, I will say realtor will not agree to do that one, because they help them out with all the process, and all the things, they work for hard for you. So I don't think so they will, the realtor will agree to do that one, unless they are either, I will say you already have agreement with them. So you have to pay them whatever the fee you agree.
And I just want to add one point to this. It's not ethical to change the realtor, just because you want like additional cash back at the end of the transaction. Imagine the same thing happening to you at job. Would you be okay with it? For the realtor, it's their main occupation. They make their money by selling homes or buying homes or, the dream homes to the clients. So when you work with a realtor, use their time, energy, everything, you have to respect that and sacrifice. If you're not happy with the service, you can tell them, hey, I'm not happy with your service. If you do that, some realtors would give you in additional money to compensate for the dissatisfaction you have.
Yeah, good point. Sai. Yeah. Next question to Sai. Any suggestion if we find a house with a green belt behind and electric poles installed?
I'm sorry, green belt?
Yeah, green belt behind and electric poles installed.
Okay. I'm assuming you're basically asking what if the home has got high tension wires at the backside.
Yeah.
I mean, to be frank, if it's very close to your home, it might be a problem. But if it's a little bit far away, you have electromagnetic radiations all around you. I mean, the cell phones which you use, the high tension from the electrical wires, what you're actually seeing is also like one such radiation. So I've done some research about it, and it really does. I mean, there's no scientific proof that it has got any adverse health effects, health problems. So in my opinion, I don't think that really matters. It's not even going to matter in terms of in terms of resale, right? But if your home is located right next to a chemical factory or a chemical plant, in a bad location, that would definitely affect the resale value, at the same time the health of the household members.
Yeah. Next question. Does installing sun tubes lower the value of the house? Is it hazardous in any way? Brindaji?
Oh, sorry.
Does installing sun tubes lower the value of the house? Is it dangerous in any way?
No, not really, actually. Even it's not hazardous basically, and it's not even effect on the value of the house too. That's not. No, you can. I didn't see anything that because of the sun tube, it's hazardous first of all, and it's in on the property value. It's not effect on the property value too.
Okay. Rishiji, one question for you. Can I take a 15-year loan initially and can I refinance it for 30 years later? Is there any problem with this approach?
Answer is yes, but I would suggest anyone and everyone who's borrowing, if you don't plan to refinance in the future, what you take today is what you should continue considering rates would be higher in the future. And again, this is just a prediction. You should go for something for longer tenure when the rates are low. But again, you can always refinance at any given point of time. But again, you'll end up getting a higher rate at that point of time. Today, you might take a 15-year at 2.25. And let's say 3 years down the line, when you're trying to refinance, assuming rates are higher, and you want to go for a 30, you'll be taking probably a 4% or whatever the rate is available at that time. So you will be qualifying basis the rate at that time, not what the rates are today.
Yeah. So let's take one or two last questions. We'll end at 9:30. So question to Sai. Do we know like how long these interest rates will remain low? Any pointers for pre-approved loans?
Sure. So based upon, I'm kind of like tracking the previous recession, which happened in 2008, right? So the interest rates remained pretty much low during that time for almost like 4 years, if I'm right. Maybe the mortgage officer can actually correct me. So I'm assuming because of this pandemic too, the rates are going to be lower for some time. I don't think it's going to go up anytime soon. Even if it goes up, it might go up by a little bit, but not a lot. So Rishiji can actually.
So I'll add to that. So I also do some consulting work for the biggest banks that we have in the US, and based on what I see as a trend, everyone is ramping up to do probably 1.5x of volumes that they did this year. That gives me a good indication that rates could be better than what they are today in 2021, at least in the first half of the year. And to add to that, normally the interest rates are aligned to the 10-year treasury. And currently they are not aligned. Lenders are making a lot of margins at this time, and which could be reduced coming 2021 when everyone wants to capture more market share. So to answer the question again, this is something that I understand how the markets are. I might be wrong. Rates will stay low for the near future, and near future could be 1 year or 1.5 years. You will see lower rates probably next year compared to where we are today. So that's it. I think I don't want to take much of the time. So anyone who's interested could call me. I've shared my number on the chat, and we can discuss this in detail.
Yeah, thank you, Rishiji. So yeah, once again, thank you, Brinda ji and Sai. It's a great session with a lot of valuable information. And thanks for taking another 30 minutes. I know we were planning only until 9, but you took another 30 minutes too. And I see there are again 30, 40 more questions and a lot of great appreciation from all the participants. So thanks again for taking time, and wish you all the best with all your future projects.
Thank you so much, Kishorji, to give me this opportunity. And if you have anybody has any question related to Houston market or surrounding market, you guys want to know the market value in any neighborhood, and then you want to know the price or any question related to real estate market, you can call me anytime. I don't charge anything to you. Feel free to contact me. I love to help you guys. Any question related to real estate market. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kishore Garu, for giving us this opportunity. And anybody within Indiana is looking to buy a new construction home anywhere in Indiana, I would offer aggressive buyer rebate, and I'll be more than happy to help you. But if you're from Central Indiana, I'll be more than happy to help you even with resale homes. So you have my contact information here. Please feel free to contact me anytime for any real estate question. I would love to educate people.
Yeah, thank you. And definitely, I'm sure there'll be a lot of our members will approach you both, and also Rishiji. Thank you. And
thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in, and we would love to connect with you. I've closely worked with Brinda ji in Houston over a period of, I think, 4 or 4.5 years now. I think she could be extremely valuable for anyone who's buying a house in Texas. So please do reach out to her, and for any mortgage needs, you can definitely reach out to me.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Kishorji.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a good night and have a great weekend.